Hello and welcome to Group 2's Globalisation and Business presentation. Here are the following members of our group.
Hello, my name is Kaisa, and this is our group project on Brexit. Since 1973, the United Kingdom has been a part of the EU. One of the most important things about the EU today is the four freedoms: movement of goods, services, people and money, and is known as the European Union Single Market. The connection between the European countries is very strong, and goods, services, people and money can easily be transferred between the member countries. In 2013, the Prime Minister of the UK promised the country that there would be a vote to leave the EU or not as a part of his 2015 re-election programme. His four main reasons to leave the EU were questions regarding the United Kingdom's competitiveness, sovereignty, economic governance, and immigration. On Thursday, 23rd of June 2016, the UK voted for leaving the EU when the Leave side won with 51.9%. The UK is predicted to leave the EU March 2019 after negotiations are finalized.
Analysis of positive impacts of Brexit. Increase in economic growth due to weakening of currency. British exports are more competitive and international sales have increased. Like luxury cars and alcohol is cheaper to foreign buyers. Foreign investors find British assets cheaper, like Qatar Airways have increased its stake in the parent company of British Airways. Revival of manufacturing industries, industrial production increased to 1.6% year on year, which was twice as expected. And then beneficial for domestic tourist industry. UK firms who earn profits abroad have been benefited. Current account deficit predicted to improve. Next point is freedom towards policy decision making and regulations. New business deals with non-EU and emerging markets. Countries like China and Australia are already moving towards making trade deals with UK after Brexit. Emerging markets are likely to grow much faster than the EU. Protection from adverse economic events in the rest of the EU. Opportunity cost of saving. No longer required to pay towards EU membership. Money can be used for its own growth. Next point is opportunity to reduce tariffs and other restraints on trade, thus positively impacting the economy. Agriculture and manufacturing are protected by a common external tariff. Manufactured goods and food prices are higher than the world prices as a result. Small and medium enterprises did not receive benefits from membership of EU. They have faced restrictions due to trade regulations between EU members.
I'm Iona and I'm going to be analysing the negative impacts of Brexit. So the first impact is uncertainty. The exit from the EU has resulted in a major change in our economic structure, both in the UK and in other countries. This has resulted in a lot of economic uncertainty for both the business and the consumer. People are unsure on the decisions and negotiations ahead and are becoming less confident. 15 months in, and both the British and international companies are lacking crucial information. Mark Carney, a governor at the Bank of England, warned that this continued uncertainty could lead to 20% lower investment into the UK economy in 2020 than what was originally predicted. This could result in decreased spending and investment decisions, which will ultimately drag the UK economy down, having serious negative effects on our economic growth. As well as uncertainty, Brexit has also resulted in a rise of inflation. As we all know, the pound dropped sharply after the vote to leave the EU. This resulted in UK imports becoming a lot more expensive. This not only led to higher UK oil prices, but also has led to upward inflation. Inflation is up by 2.9%, and this means that real wage rates are falling, which could be noticeable in some households, and may lead to some negative impacts on the UK business environment if inflation continues to increase. My third point is foreign direct investment. FDI is vital in any economy. UK was an attractive export platform with a highly educated workforce and flexible labour market. EU membership attracts a gateway platform for multinationals. Brexit has reduced this attractiveness for companies to invest. Access into the EU is now more complex and are being renegotiated. EU membership increases FDI by around 28%. An exit will reduce FDI investment and could result in a fall of GDP by 3.4%. Why do we need FDI? It brings inward investment, it brings positive multiplier effects, it creates jobs, it brings new technologies from abroad. Ultimately, Brexit will reduce FDI, which could result in a reduction of these positive spillover effects and a negative impact on our business environment. Considering a sector within the UK, the car industry contributed 5.1% to UK exports, and 40% of these exports were to the EU. The SMMT collects data in the heart of the industry. Out of the 700 members, only 10% voted to leave the EU. Due to Brexit, multinationals now find locating in the UK less attractive, mainly because trade costs are going to increase and coordination costs are going to increase. To summarise, the total UK car production is predicted to fall by 12%. This is mainly because car manufacturers such as BMW will move production out of the UK. It is also predicted that prices in the UK imports are likely to rise by 2.5%. Even though the effect might not be imminent, the UK car industry has worked extremely hard to rebuild itself, and Brexit may now result in the sector becoming a lot less attractive, which could have serious negative impacts on jobs within the car industry, and they may be under threat, which could result in a negative multiplier effect and reduction in UK economic growth in the auto industry.
This is Karen Bergström, and I will speak about the new business opportunities and outlook for the future. So, if the Brexit deal is strict, meaning that Europe won't offer UK free or near free trade deal with the countries within the European Union, this will lead to a decreasing in trade between the UK and European countries. This would open up for other countries around the world to trade more with the UK. Various countries around the globe could possibly benefit from Brexit. One example is the US, that could see an increase in export to the UK and also do good import deals due to depreciation of the pound. Beside the trading part, there are another possible outcome of Brexit that the US will benefit from. As London's status as a financial capital is threatened as a result of Brexit, the clear winner to step up is in New York City. Another country that could see possibilities is India. India is one of the biggest sources for foreign direct investments in the UK, and this will most likely change after Brexit, since UK will be a less attractive place to invest in. This could lead to UK having to offer financial initiatives, which could benefit Indian companies. The fact that workers might have to leave the UK could create a demand for labor, which is an opportunity for Indian workers, who often are well educated and they can easily fit into the English-speaking population. Ireland might also be affected positively by Brexit, since they keep the advantages that comes with being a member of the EU. They have a low corporation tax and a liberal approach to trade, and they are located close to the UK, which makes them an attractive alternative instead of the UK for companies and investors. Brexit could also lead to UK becoming a tax haven. To find ways to attract new businesses and keep investors from leaving the country, they may offer exemptions following the decreasing pound and the reduction of corporate tax. The impact of the UK will be that new trade deals with countries outside the EU will be made. They will have a broader talent pool with workers from all over the world, and they will have more money to spend on their own growth.
If the UK and EU do not agree on future trade agreements that do not differ much from today's trade agreements, many businesses are facing risks. The EU provides trade agreements within the EU but also with third parties. The trade between the UK and the EU will probably be affected negatively. Before Brexit, the UK was a centre for financial services for the EU. The loss of freedom of capital will make banks consider moving somewhere else within the EU, where they can still take advantage of those rules of freedom. That move will be a big extra cost for the banks and is something that would rather be avoided. Although the pound depreciated following Brexit, export for the UK will probably be affected negatively in the long run. It also goes the other way around, as the EU is one of the UK's biggest export areas. The EU buys half of the UK export, but the UK only stands for consuming around 10% of the export from the EU. That gives the UK little power during negotiations with the EU, as the UK is more dependent on the EU than the other way around. The political uncertainty that comes with Brexit affects the economy just by being uncertain and therefore providing more risk. This uncertainty causes corporations and investors to postpone their investments when there is more risk involved. This means that there will be an overall slowdown in the economy until the negotiations have come to an end and the political situation is more stable.
In short, the EU's main purpose is to open up trade between the countries, so leaving the EU is likely to affect the trade more negatively than positively. The chance of recreating a trade environment as good or as better is small. Negotiations really affect the size of the impact and whether it will be a hard or soft change in our trade agreements. Even though it is much uncertainty regarding the outcome, we have concluded that the impact is likely to be more negative than positive. Thank you for listening to our presentation.